I want you to picture one of those moments that you've asked your child to do something. Maybe it's turning off a video game or brushing their teeth or get in the car or get your shoes, put your socks on. And now you're in a battle that you did not intend to be. And your child is arguing with you. You find yourself repeating over and over what you told them to do. Your voice is getting louder, and maybe even the consequences are getting bigger. And what happens is your child starts to dig in even more. Maybe you don't have to try to picture it from some far off memory. Maybe that happened just before you listened to this video, or this morning when you were trying to get ready for work. And you can feel your heart racing. And you start thinking, I'm going to make you do this if it's the last thing that I do. Or maybe you're thinking, you are making me so mad. Why does this have to be so difficult? Or you're making me repeat myself. Does this sound familiar? So today I want to challenge you about one idea. Your child is not making you angry. They are pulling you into a dance. And every time you step onto the dance floor, the power struggle grows. So the question isn't, how do I make my child obey? A better question is, how do I stop this dance? Because when one person stops dancing, the dance is going to change. So today I'm going to teach you some of the de-escalation tools that I teach families with children that are aggressive, explosive, defiant, or emotionally overwhelmed. These tools are not about becoming a permissive parent or walking on eggshells. They're about you becoming solid, you being the solid object. Tool number 1, get out of the I'm going to make you. One sentence changes everything. Instead of thinking, I'm going to make you do this, I want you to think, I'm going to make sure that this happens. It's a huge difference. You might not hear it at first, but we're going to move from I'm going to make you do this to I'm going to make sure this happens. And that's a huge difference. Parents often think that leadership means that you have to force compliance. It doesn't. Leadership means calmly making sure that the expectation is carried out. For example, I'm going to make sure you put your shoes on versus we are leaving when your shoes are on. Or I've got your shoes, get in the car, you'll put them on in the car. Notice who's responsible. Notice who isn't chasing. Children can't engage in a power struggle if you're not wrestling with them. Tool number 2, they are not making you angry. This is a hard one to pull away from all of us. We all have those times when we're like, oh, you're making me so frustrated, or you're making me so angry, and we assign people this power over our own emotions. And I know it feels that way. I talk to parents all the time. They're like, but they're doing this. They're manipulating me. They're, all these things. But emotions come from our interpretation. When we think they're disrespecting me, they're doing this on purpose, they're winning, they're defiant, our body starts to prepare for battle. And we can't help that. It starts with our thoughts and it creates that feeling. So I want you to try some different ideas on for a while. My child is dysregulated. My child is stuck. My kid is testing whether I'm going to stay steady. And your role will change. How you assign that is going to change. Your thinking actually will change the outcome of that, because now you're not fighting an enemy. You're leading a child. Even a teen. You're leading your kid. It doesn't mean that there's no consequences, and it doesn't mean that we're just accepting whatever happens. But it's going to help you to come from a calm place and not anger. This is a really important thing, is to consider the thoughts. I ask parents all the time about this when they tell me, You know, my child's so defiant, I could have a picture of them with defiance next to it in the dictionary. It's like, what is that thought costing you? And how is it helping you? Whether it's true or not, we don't even have to talk about that. But is that thought really helping you? Tool number 3, too many choices create power struggles. This is a big one because we've been taught, I believe, as parents in this day and age, and parents with kids that have a lot of challenges or are naturally more prone to not just go with the flow, are told to that the kids need more choices. They're actually told this. So you may have been told this by a professional, by a teacher, by a counselor, that you have to give more choices and then they'll be more cooperative. It helps them to own it. But that isn't true. That's not true at all, especially with really challenging kids. Too many choices creates more negotiation. Too many choices it floods an overly anxious brain that's already flooded or easily flooded. And instead of giving those choices and offering everything to be a negotiation, so we want to switch that, because right now it's like we ask these questions like, what do you want to wear? What do you want for dinner? What do you want to do to clean your room? What do you want to do to get calm? What are you going to do, about this and that? And we kind of are flooding them at a time when they can't make those decisions. We are trying to help their executive functioning, but we're actually just kind of almost attacking it. So you want to offer structured choices if you're going to offer choices. You can wear the blue shirt or the green shirt. You can shower before dinner or after dinner. You can carry your backpack or I can. And the choices have to work for you. You can't say, do you want to clean your room right now? And then they say no, and then you're like, well, actually, I want you to clean your room right now. If you give that choice, you got to be okay with either choice. But here's the thing, if the child cannot make the choice, and you'll see with a lot of kids, and maybe this is why you don't want to give 2 choices, is they're going to pick a third choice that you didn't even offer. Do you want this or this? And then they want something else. And they're already getting flooded, sometimes even with these structured choices. So sometimes it's really, we have to be very specific. It's like, are you going to be able to finish this right now? Or do you want to take a 5-minute break? And you can lead them either way. And if they tell you they want to finish it, it's like, that's great, I'm right here. If you have another problem though, we're going to take a break. So, and you can see if they start getting flooded, like, if they tell you like, I don't know what to do right now, I'm so angry, don't start even offering choices the higher dysregulated they are. You may have to say, you know what, I can see that, come sit with me. Or why don't you take a few minutes and go to your room and then do this? And so we can lead them in a way that helps them to not get flooded, that there's a good choice or a bad choice in this. And that's another problem with choices, is that we put a lot of emphasis on make good choices, and then we give kids a bunch of choices that are all fine. We're fine with either way. So just be careful. When you're giving 2 specific choices, you'll start to notice how often you're giving choices, and not everything has to be a choice. Did you want steak or did you want chicken for dinner? They don't have to decide that. You can decide that as the parent. It doesn't have to be, choices that they have to make on a daily basis that adults can just take care of for them. A child can have some control if you have some structured choices. But remember, the choice should never be, do you want to obey right now, or do you want to have a consequence? Do you want to get calm, or are you going to have to do this? Those aren't really good choices. That's not a choice. That's kind of handing over the leadership. It's you noticing that they need to get calm, and so you say, you know what, you're getting upset, here's what we're going to do, and leading them into it. It doesn't have to be harsh or mean. And you'll find when you're not repeating yourself and you're not in these power struggles, that you don't have to be as harsh and as upset, because you're calmer in it. Tool number 4, teaching healthy negotiation. So here's the thing. I rarely get to this place with parents when I'm working with them, because we have to go all the way back to stopping all of the negotiations. Like, everything is up for grabs. Everything is an argument. Everything is, so we actually sometimes don't get to this part. But if you have a child that's really, doing pretty well with what you ask them to do, you're not having a lot of power struggles, and they're able to give good responses and cooperate, then we still want to teach them healthy negotiation. We just don't want to start there. And that's I think where we fall down. A lot of times people are trying to do healthy negotiations with their 3-year-olds or with their highly dysregulated child that cannot accept no for an answer. This sets you up to be in battle. So should children ever negotiate? Absolutely. We want to know that skill. Negotiation is a life skill, and they do need to have it, but the timing matters. My karate instructor used to say, you have to know how to be taught, but in order to be an instructor, right? So sometimes we're instructing and sometimes we're being taught. And we learn that as we mature. So for kids, we want to make sure, because a lot of kids, especially if they come from trauma, are always trying to level the playing field. They want to make themselves equal with all the adults in the room. And the parent-child relationship or the adult-child relationship is very skewed. And it doesn't matter to me how smart your child is, if they cannot accept correction or instruction from a teacher because they're smarter, we still have a problem in the relationship, and it's not healthy. So children who are emotionally flooded are not going to negotiate. And sometimes they can sound like they are, like they're being really, they're throwing out a good argument. But if they're yelling and crying and arguing or refusing, and they're not able to just accept you calmly telling them this is what we're going to do, they're actually not solving problems. They're like, their brain is kind of on fire and it's just spitting stuff out. And it may sound logical because a lot of times they're spitting out words and phrases that we've used so that they have an advantage in their negotiating. It's not truly negotiating because they're not really in the frontal part of their lobe. In our family, we teach something simple. First, we give a good response. Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad. And that doesn't mean that they always love the answer. It means that they're allowing and they're showing that self-control. They're giving that good spot. Later, when everybody is calm, they might ask, may I ask for a negotiation? Or can I tell you something first? Can I give you some more information that you didn't have? So notice the order: regulation first, good responses first, and then negotiation second. If it's like, yes, Mom, but, then we're still not quite there. And that's how we function as adults. We need to teach our kids how to negotiate, how to advocate for themselves without resorting to, name calling and threats. But at the same time, we also need to know that there's a time and a place for that. Tool number 5, I want you to become the anchor. Now, this might be the most important concept that I teach parents, because your child does not need another storm. They already have one going on inside all the time. Think about their heads like just static all the time, right? Just stuff going on, thoughts, songs, noise, whatever. And they need an anchor. So if you think about a boat in rough water, the waves don't stop. The wind doesn't stop. But the anchor keeps the boat from floating and drifting away. So you have to be that solid object, that anchor that keeps them from drifting away. Yes, they're in a storm, and yes, they're having a problem right now. And so you are that calm anchor. That doesn't mean you're your punching bag, or you verbally or emotionally. It just means that you have a plan and you're not rattled by it. Your consistency becomes the anchor. It's like, this is what we're going to do now. Your predictability can become the anchor. Children borrow our nervous systems long before they can manage their own. And for children that are often dysregulated, that have mood disorders, that are defiant, that are oppositional, all of those things, ADHD, trauma responses, they need to borrow your brain. So you've got to be the calmest brain in the room. That doesn't mean forcing yourself to be calm. That means actually being calm because you know what you're going to do. And later you can feel a little like, oh gosh, I hope I handled that all right. If you become chaotic and start asking a lot of questions and throwing out a lot of options, they become chaotic. And you get louder, and then you become threatening maybe, or trying to like bribe them or convince them into it, and they actually get more defensive. Your calm doesn't magically calm them, but your brain being calm and being solid is going to help them to regulate against that. So it's not going to be an automatic calming of the storm because you are calm. And if you have a child that's not safe, that gets, when they're dysregulated, gets aggressive and violent, you need to give me a call because I cannot help you do that safely in this one video, how you need to bring them down to calmness. But this is my specialty, is helping you to know what to do. So set up a call, go to my website, Parenting Challenging Kids, and drop a lifeline, and let's talk. Tool number 6, don't chase the argument. One of the biggest mistakes that parents make is answering every objective. But what if that's not fair? You said no, every explanation comes with an invitation to argue. And you don't have to. You don't have to provide an answer for everything they say. That doesn't mean we're just going to ignore them and disassociate and scroll through our phone. It's like, I'm ignoring you right now. That's not going to work because these kids will get your attention. But the most powerful response can be, I hear you. I know. When you're ready, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it at 2:00. Sometimes it's asking them, what did you hear me say? And a lot of times it's just stop talking. Stop trying to convince them. Just be quiet and wait and be still. If you remember only one thing from today, I want you to remember this. Your child is looking for someone stronger than the chaos. Not stronger through force, but stronger through that steadiness. So children feel the safest when somebody's willing to say, children feel the safest when someone else is willing to carry the emotional weight. When you are carrying that, it doesn't mean that you're giving in. And it doesn't mean that you're lowering your expectations. It's a solidness in you. And you may need, in fact, I know that you need some additional help and support to do that. That's the amazing thing about working with a parent coach. So join one of our parent coaching groups. It's life-changing. You can learn week by week how to stop trying to win every battle. And you start winning something more important, your child's trust, their emotional regulation, and eventually their confidence in themselves. And that's what de-escalation is really about. It's not just helping you to survive hard moments, but it's helping you to stay connected and build that relationship where your child learns that even when my life is out of control, mom and dad are still my safe place, or one of my parents is my safe place. Now you might be thinking like, that's great, but that's really hard to do when you're in the middle of it. And I say, yeah, that's exactly right. That's why you need a coach, right? Like that's why I coach parents through those moments in real time. So in my coaching groups, we practice these tools. We troubleshoot situations that you're facing at home, how to handle this if this happens, what we can do next time when this happens, because kids have a lot of repetitive behavior. And it helps you become steady to anchor your child's needs. You don't have to figure this out alone. Look in the description and get the links and get signed up because the groups are open right now, but they're closing soon.